Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of our Sainz Sprint Career Mode here on the channel. Now, if you didn't watch the season opener, go back and watch that one. The first 3 races you will have missed out on. So just to bring you up to date on what has happened so far, the season results, we did manage to get 1 win out of the 3 races. We finished 7th in Bahrain, we won in Australia, then finished 6th in Japan, meaning for the standings, we are currently in P4. We are 6 points behind our teammate Charles Leclerc, who is leading the driver's standings. Fernando Alonso in P2 and Lando Norris in P3. Must be said, Max Verstappen in P6 is a little bit of a surprise at this early stage. We are leading the Constructors Ferrari on 84 points. We are 3 points clear of McLaren, and once again Red Bull in P4. Aston Martin doing rather well at this moment in time. If we have a look at the R&D before we get into the 3 races that you are going to get on this episode, we are currently 3rd in the standings, just behind McLaren and Red Bull. Red Bull seriously underperforming at this moment in time. In this episode, we are going to China, then we are in Miami before going to Monza, I believe that is. Let's just have a double check on that. It is Imola, in fact. So it's China, Miami, then Imola. So we're going to get straight into it. Let's see you in qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix. Now, before we get into the qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix, we do have a sprint race. And of course, in the sprint career mode, we're going to have to do the sprint race as well. But it's an even shorter sprint race. It's a 3-lap shootout. Max Verstappen is on pole. We're in P2. Lando Norris in P3 and Charles Leclerc in P4. Let's see how this sprint race unfolds. Sprint race in China then. We are starting on the front row of the grid. It's 5 red lights. And away we go, and straight away we're going to ride on board with us Carlos Sainz, because let's have a look. We have got to make a decent start here. Verstappen gets away well, as do we. Leclerc, he's having a little look round our outside. As we switch to the television camera, we can see we do manage to block it off and block off Charles Leclerc. We can see the McLaren of Oscar Piastri having a go at Fernando Alonso a little bit further back, as is everybody else. We can see Hamilton and Russell, the 2 Mercedes in formation, but Alonso and Piastri getting to grips with each other early doors here. But Piastri looks like he's just about got that position, or has he? Because Fernando Alonso, as we ride on board with him now, this will turn to the inside for this double left-hander, and Fernando Alonso takes that place back. They are losing time by squabbling to Lando Norris, but it's been a good start from us, but not good enough, because Max Verstappen is already running away up the road as we start to lose the back end a little bit. But Verstappen leads from us, and Piastri and Alonso still can't sort this out, as it's now a drag race down to the next left-hander. But Alonso gets him, and then Piastri also nearly loses a position to Lewis Hamilton. Lap 1, Verstappen leads. And coming towards the end of lap 1, we're in P2, but for how much longer? Because we can see Charles Leclerc down our inside. Will we be able to chuck it round the outside? We won't. We respect our teammate. We're early on the brakes, and Charles Leclerc moves up into P2. Verstappen way out in front. DRS so powerful around here. And as we come on to the long DRS straight, our DRS is open, and as we can see, Lando Norris is fancying a little bite at the cherry as well. There's a McLaren and a Ferrari, both with the rear wing open. We dive to the outside. Lando Norris gets stuck in behind Charles Leclerc. We hang it around the outside of Charles Leclerc, and we are back up into P2. What a bit of driving that was by us. We just about keep it within track limits. Carlos Sainz is way out in front, but the battle for the podium is there between us, Leclerc, and Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc manages to get the overtake done once again. We are back down into P3, and we are right on the back of our teammate, but we just can't quite, as we try and take a little bit of a wider line, looking to see if we can get the switch back on Charles Leclerc. But as we come on to this final lap in this sprint, we have to settle for P3 at the moment. And so it's all going to come down to this. Can we get our teammate on the final lap of this sprint? We can see right on board from our point of view, the DRS wide open on this Ferrari. Charles Leclerc doesn't even fight it, to be fair to him. Lando Norris might fancy a move, as might Fernando Alonso. It is us who gets really nicely on the brakes. We can see behind Lando Norris just about holding off Fernando Alonso. But as we come around the final corner, we will take P2. That's been a decent sprint race. We started P2, we finished P2, but there was a lot of excitement in between. Let's get to the classifieds. So we do pick up a good amount of points there, both for the constructors and for the drivers. We get 7 points, Charles Leclerc on 6, Max Verstappen winning the sprint rather comfortably, it must be said, but some great battles between us and Leclerc in particular there. Now let's get to quali for the Chinese Grand Prix. Final sector then in qualifying. It's going to be a wet feature race on Sunday, so qualifying is going to be absolutely crucial. Can we possibly get in towards the front row of the grid? It's not been as good as the sprint qualifying, it must be said. As we come around the final corner, it's only good enough for is that P10 or P11? Let's have a look. It's going to be P10, so a poor qualifying, and we've got very poor conditions on Sunday. Let's get to the grid.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Stroll, Sainz, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Ocon, Albon, Gasly, Magnussen, Perez, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Joe, and Logan Sargent. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
It's a very, very different event now because it is raining heavily in China. 5 red lights and away we go. Verstappen on pole from Charles Leclerc. We're riding on board with us. We didn't get the best of starts, and straight away Daniel Ricciardo manages to get the overtake done. We try and go around the outside, trying to find that little bit of extra grip. We're drifting. We have to slam on the brakes to stop us going into the side of the Mercedes of George Russell, but we're keeping it stuck in there. We managed to gain a couple of positions. We are up in to P7. We can see Fernando Alonso now in front of us, but we can see this Ferrari squirming in these wet conditions on these intermediate tyres. Leclerc up front has actually managed to get in front of Max Verstappen, so fair play to him. We try and have a little look round the outside of Fernando Alonso, but at the start of this race here in the wet conditions in China, we're up into P7. And coming towards the end of lap 1, we're going for a move here. We weren't going to do, but by the time we got on the brakes, Fernando Alonso held up behind the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, and we felt the opportunity knocked, and we definitely managed to take it. Alonso then sticks in between us. We then go into this final corner. The track is so difficult, and the car is not enjoying these conditions, but up into P6 as we start lap 2. And as we start lap 3, we're looking at the back of Lewis Hamilton, and we're finding a little bit of luck as we kind of drift round the outside of the Mercedes. Hamilton's still there. We're just about keeping it in around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, and we do manage to slot in to P5. Another position gained, a couple more of them, and we'll be on the podium. And now we're looking at the bike of Oscar Piastri, and we are heavy on the brakes, but Oscar Piastri makes a little error. The back end steps out, and we take those all day long. We're now up into P4. We can see Verstappen 0.8 of a second in front of Leclerc, and now we've got the second McLaren of Lando Norris. Could we possibly get a podium here in China? And this is it then, final lap of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is leading. We're in P4. We're looking at the back of Lando Norris. We can see Charles Leclerc, and once again, this outside line in this Ferrari seems to be working. We dance round Lando Norris. We are up into P3, and now, of course, the inter-team battle starts once again because Charles Leclerc is one of our closest rivals in the Drivers' Championship at this moment. So if we could get Charles Leclerc, that would be absolutely ideal. We see we make a little bit of a mistake there, but the cars are squirming all over. It's so difficult in these conditions, although we have improved as the race has gone on, and we're just trying to hold it in there nice and clean. But will a passing opportunity present itself as we go on to this final couple of sectors? We can see Leclerc. You can see how difficult it is at this moment in time. With Lando Norris is 0.6 of a second behind us. Hamilton a further 2.4 seconds back from him, and we're going to go to the cockpit cam at this moment in time, give you a different point of view on this final lap. But as we come onto this final straight, we will be burning all the battery. We're struggling like mad to get the power down, but now we finally do. It's up to 0.9 of a second. It's going to take some humongous effort to catch Charles Leclerc out, and it might not be Charles Leclerc that's the problem. It might be Lando Norris. As we try to break the toe, we can see Lando Norris going down the inside of us, and now will we be able to make a move into this final right-hander? We are late on the brakes, and as we can see around the outside, we managed to just about hold it. Lando Norris, he did his utmost to get on the podium. He's not going to quite manage it today, because as we come round the final corner, we will get P3. That's a decent day again for Ferrari, and my word, have we earned it. Let's get to the podium.
There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
They certainly are proving themselves. Max Verstappen winning again, but my word, is it good to be back on that podium. And I've got to say, it felt like it was very much deserved. We drove exceptionally well there in the rain and managed to get back on the podium. Verstappen winning again, but we are still very much in this fight. But let's get to the full classifieds. So there we have it then, Max Verstappen winning from Charles Leclerc. We finished in P3, then came Norris and Hamilton, Piastri in P6, Fernando Alonso in P7, Lance Stroll P8, Russell and Daniel Ricciardo getting a point in the feature race. Let's just have a quick look at what that means for the driver standings. Charles Leclerc still leading the way on 70 points from Max Verstappen. Lando Norris and us, Carlos Sainz, tied on 61. Then comes Fernando Alonso. Let's now get to qualifying for the second race of the episode.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Stroll, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Joe, and Logan Sargent. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Second free-lap shootout of the episode then, this time in Miami in the glorious sunshine. We're starting in P5. It's a decent start from Verstappen and Leclerc, and straight away we switch to the onboard because we can see George Russell. We go a little bit wide, we make a little bit of contact with Checo Perez, but we just about managed to hold it there. And as we can see, Verstappen leading from Leclerc, but my word, is this close up top. We're going to have a little look at this battle as we watch our teammate going head-to-head with Max Verstappen. You can see us in behind as well. But it was a decent start from us. We managed to gain a position or two, and Max Verstappen started well once again. We're very much in the mix for a sprint win here. Perez in P3, we're in P4, and we've got two Mercedes hot on our tail behind us. Coming towards the end of lap 2, riding on board with us once again. We can see Checo Perez in front of us, but this DRS is so powerful. But we're just in a DRS train at this moment in time. We can see the 3 cars in front of us. We're heavy on the brakes into the left-hander, trying to get a run on Checo Perez just to make that single overtake, which would make all the difference. But it is pretty much as you were at the front. Verstappen leads from Leclerc. The main battle at the moment is Ocon and Piastri. We haven't seen too much of these guys, so we'll have a little look at this. But Piastri and Ocon really going at it. And this is a battle for P11. Piastri out of position, not making the moves he wants. There's one Ferrari fighting for the win today, and sadly, it's not the one we're in, but Charles Leclerc making the overtake on Max Verstappen. They're rubbing wheels at this moment in time. Verstappen goes back down the inside of him, and this will then turn into the left-hander. Verstappen just about holding off the progress of Charles Leclerc. We're sat in behind this, getting front row seats to this battle in front of us as we switch back to our on board, and my word, we can see this is just going to be a drag race all the way, and we are actually going to switch to Charles Leclerc because Charles Leclerc has got the DRS on Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen obviously burning the battery, and is Max Verstappen going to hold on to this? Let's have a little look because DRS. Will Charles Leclerc manage to get it? He's got the outside line, Verstappen the inside line, and it looks to me as though Max Verstappen is going to win this sprint, or is he? It's a photo finish, and it's going to be Charles Leclerc by 0.06 of a second that wins this 3-lap shootout. Verstappen in P2, Perez in P3, and we finish in P4. Let's get to the classifieds. Oh my word, how close was that? Charles Leclerc pipping Max Verstappen for the sprint win. Checo Perez in P3, we finished in P4. Then Russell, Alonso and Hamilton P5, 6 and 7. An exciting sprint race. Now let's get to quali for Sunday's feature race. This has been a much better lap than the sprint quali lap, and if we can get this final corner right, we just might be on pole. We do leave it a little bit late, we do go a little bit deep, but as we come up to the line, it's got to be very, very close between us and Max Verstappen. But as we come to the line, I think Max Verstappen just pinches it from us. He does. It's P2. We will start the Miami Grand Prix from the front row of the grid, but Max Verstappen just pips us. Let's get to the grid.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Perez, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Albon, Joe, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Bottas, and Logan Sargent. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Feature race then in Miami. We're starting on the front row with Max Verstappen. It's 5 red lights. And away we go. And do we get a good start? We could really do it, taking the lead into turn 1. Is it possible for us? As we tried to go, we nearly hit Verstappen. It sends us wide once again. There's a big battle going off behind us. We can see Alonso and Leclerc fighting. And straight away, we've lost a little bit of time to Max Verstappen. It was a clean getaway from him. We so nearly took out the leader. Alonso and Leclerc going at it behind us. We're going to switch to the television camera. And we can see Hamilton and Perez just behind them going for it as well. It's all action here in Miami. At the start of this feature race, we've already dropped 0.8 of a second behind Max Verstappen, but Alonso's a further second behind us. My word, what an eventful start that was. Lap 3, and it must be said, not too much else has happened in this race, but at this moment in time, we've got DRS on Max Verstappen. We are closing, but not quite by enough as we then go into this final left-hander. We're 3.4 seconds ahead of our teammate Charles Leclerc at this moment. It's a two-horse race for this win in Miami, and my word, it's so close, but can we possibly get Max Verstappen? We will see. Final lap of the race in Miami, and we are so close to Max Verstappen as we go to this right-hander, but we actually lose the back end, and now we're going to have to do absolutely everything after all that work to get back in the DRS, but we lose it once again, and we actually lose a part of our front wing. We can see the damage on that Ferrari, and now that is going to be really difficult now for the rest of this Grand Prix, because Charles Leclerc and Alonso have been pretty quick, and straight away you can see how much we're struggling to turn this Ferrari at this moment in time. Suddenly it's like driving a cruise liner rather than a Formula 1 car, and Charles Leclerc has pulled the gap in from 3 seconds to just over a second. This is so worrying now for us, as we can see Charles Leclerc getting closer in our mirrors, but the fortunate thing for us is Fernando Alonso is actually fighting him as we go into this twisty middle sector here in Miami, doing everything we can to just ensure that we keep the car away out of the wall and try and give it. I mean, look at the steering. It's so difficult at this moment. Now, does Fernando Alonso get DRS? That is the crucial part here, because if Fernando Alonso's rear wing opens, we could be in a bit of trouble. Let's see if he does it. Does it open? It certainly does. And Fernando Alonso, we're going to look from his point of view, because we're burning all the battery we possibly can to ensure that we stay ahead. And it must be said, if this race had gone on another lap, we would not be on a podium today. But as it happens, as we come through the final couple of corners, we are going to get on a podium and get P2 today. We will take that all day long. My word, that was hard work. Let's get to the podium.
Will put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
A couple of smiling Spaniards on the podium, but it must be said, we can't be happy with that. That mistake towards the end cost us a chance. We got in the DRS of Max Verstappen, and then we absolutely bottled it, for want of a better word. I don't know what the word for bottle is in Spanish, but we certainly did it there. But we'll take P2. We held off Fernando Alonso in the end, but we go to Imola next. That proves to be a decent race, so let's get to it now. So the full classified race results: Max Verstappen winning. We finished in P2 with the fastest lap, it must be said. Fernando Alonso in P3, Leclerc in P4. Then came Hamilton, Perez, Russell, Lando Norris, Stroll and Ocon. And after another sprint weekend, we can have a look at the standings. Max Verstappen is now leading the Drivers' Championship from Charles Leclerc. We're 10 points behind, and Fernando Alonso a little bit further behind us as well. Constructor standings wise, we are still very much at the top with Ferrari, but we have one more race for you on this episode, and it is Imola, so let's get to that now. As we come through the final couple of corners on this flying lap, my word, it's so close. Max Verstappen looks like he's just got the edge once again, but it's a decent qualifying session from us at one of our home Grand Prix here. P3 will take that. Let's get to the grid for Sunday.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Norris, Perez, Stroll, Gasly, Ocon, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Albon, Tsunoda, Russell, Sargent, Bottas, Joe, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Final race of the episode then, and we are starting in P3. It's 5 red lights, and away we go. And it must be said, we get a belting start around the outside of Max Verstappen, and straight away we take the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. What a moment that was. We did so well there to get away, and now we are leading. And this is an unusual place. We actually run on the grass a little bit there as well, but this is a little bit more unusual for us because we've not been in this position. Fernando Alonso 0.6 of a second behind us, but it's got to be said, if we can break the DRS, we know how powerful DRS is at Imola. If we can break the DRS of Alonso, we'll be in a fantastic position. Verstappen's down in P4, Norris is in at P5, but we are leading the Italian Grand Prix. Lap 3 and Fernando Alonso, we can see him all over the back of us. Fernando, is he going to go for a move here? He backs out of it just. But my word, on lap 3, we are doing everything we can to hold on to this. We are managing to keep Fernando Alonso behind, and Charles Leclerc, who's also going to be wanting to win this in front of the Tifosi. We're driving rather well, but that pressure is on us, and as you can see, the pressure is so much. We can see that Aston Martin all over our wing mirrors at this moment, but on lap 3, we're just doing enough to hold him off. End of lap 3, and we're coming into the final couple of corners, but we just don't manage to get the car turned. We go onto the gravel, and now Alonso and Leclerc are going to get a better run. That is the pressure of leading the Grand Prix, the home Grand Prix, and my word, we can now see Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc both looking to come at us. Alonso's trying to go around the left, Charles Leclerc trying to go around the right, and it's Charles Leclerc who takes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix here in Imola. It was a scruffy final sector for us on lap 3, and now we've got work to do once again, but it's, as it currently stands, the Tifosi won't mind this because it is a Ferrari 1-2. And coming on to the final lap, we've got DRS this time, and Charles Leclerc parks the car. We try and go left and right, and we back out of it. There's no way on earth we're smashing both Ferraris into the wall. Can you imagine the Tifosi? Can you imagine the team principal? I don't think Fred Vasseur would be very happy with that. Now we have got one final lap as we very much get track limits there, trying to get past Charles Leclerc. It's been very tough so far. Fernando Alonso not giving up hope of even winning this Grand Prix at this moment in time. Max Verstappen a little bit further back in P4 as well. Then comes Norris, Piastri, Hamilton in P7, Checo Perez in P8, and Daniel Ricciardo once again in the points, it must be said, but it is all eyes on the Ferraris at this moment in time as we come towards the final sector here in Imola. Charles Leclerc has been very good so far, as have we, but could we possibly get an opportunity? I don't think we're going to manage to get it on the run up to the line, but we are closing. We're burning the battery. This time we go to the left. We're going to have to make this move early, and we make it into the final couple of corners. And as we come round the final corner, it is going to be a Ferrari 1-2, but it's not going to be Leclerc from Sainz. It's going to be Sainz from Leclerc, and we finish the episode with a win. My word, what a way to do it. And let's get to this very nice podium.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
A stunning win for Ferrari, a stunning win for us. My word, that overtake at the end. Let me know down in the comments, was it hard racing or was it a little bit over the limit? But we had to try and make that move. Remember, we're fighting for a contract elsewhere, of course, in this sprint career, and it's not going to be at Ferrari next season, so we've got to look after ourselves. But a Ferrari 1-2 at Imola, the Tifosi will be absolutely buzzing with that. Let's get to the final standings and see where that leaves the championships at the end of this episode. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, confirmed we did win the race. Charles Leclerc got the fastest lap in P2, Fernando Alonso in P3, Verstappen down in P4, Lando Norris P5, Then it was Piastri, Hamilton, Perez, Stroll in P9, and Ricciardo again sneaking a point. If we have a look at the driver's standings, we are now top by a single point from our teammate Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen a little bit further back on 107 points. Then comes Alonso on 88. It's very, very tight in the drivers. It's not so tight in the constructors. 219 points for us, and Red Bull are 76 points behind us. My word, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the first couple of episodes of this new series. Please let me know down in the comments who do you think is going to win the championships in this first season, and I will see you on Thursday for episode 3. Ta-ra!